I get a kick out of people saying, well, we expected something. No one expected Coach Lombardi.
He was completely ready. He had a fire in him unlike any other coach. It's the fact that he had those 20 years in the vineyards, preparing himself, thinking that he was better than people realized. All of those frustrations made the great Lombardi possible.
Vince Lombardi, a name synonymous with excellence in the world of professional football, was not only a renowned coach, but also an innovative strategist who transformed the game itself. Born in Brooklyn, New York, Lombardi played football at Fordham University, where he showcased his leadership and tenacity, earning a place on the famed 7 blocks of granite offensive line. After a brief stint in the coaching ranks at high schools and as an assistant at college programs, he entered the NFL in 1954 as an assistant coach for the New York Giants. It was in 1959, however, that he would find his true calling as head coach of the Green Bay Packers. Lombardi's teams embodied discipline, resilience, and a relentless pursuit of perfection, culminating in the Packers winning 5 championships in the 1960s, including the first 2 Super Bowls. His famous quote, "Winning isn't everything, it's the only thing," encapsulated his winning mentality. Beyond the field, Lombardi was a staunch advocate for the importance of character and integrity in sports, leaving a legacy that transcended the game itself. His impact is still felt today, not only in the NFL, but in the way athletes approach competition, teamwork, and personal development. Lombardi passed away from cancer in 1970, but his spirit continues to resonate in the football world, symbolizing the pursuit of greatness and the relentless drive to achieve one's goals. Join us in honoring the lasting influence of Lombardi's vision on both the NFL and the Green Bay Packers, as we uncover the principles that continue to resonate with fans and athletes alike.
Winning, well, I think it's only natural that anyone would think that to win is important. That's the reason you're in this business. If you have any kind of pride or any kind of dedication or any kind of backbone or spunk to you, you should try to be the best in your own profession, regardless of what it is. Anybody who has the idea that just to play or just to take part and that's all that's necessary, I think he's in the wrong business. I think he's in the wrong country. Let me put it that way. I think one of the things that made America great is to try to be the best in everything that they do. And the best, again, is signified by winning. I was born on June 11th, 1913. I was born in the old Sheepshead Bay section of Brooklyn.
Raised in a close-knit Italian-American family, Lombardi's early life was steeped in the values of hard work, discipline, and resilience, principles that would later define his coaching philosophy.
They went to work in that meat packing, and they were carrying half of a cow, and I think that was my grandfather's way of teaching discipline.
Lombardi's academic journey led him to Fordham University, where he played football as part of the legendary 7 blocks of granite offensive line. His collegiate experience not only honed his athletic skills, but also instilled in him the importance of teamwork and leadership. After graduating in 1937 with a degree in business, Lombardi took his first steps into coaching at St. Cecilia High School in Englewood, New Jersey. It was here that he began to develop his signature coaching style, focusing on discipline and motivation to cultivate talent. Following his success at the high school level, Lombardi transitioned to college football, where he further refined his tactical knowledge and gained invaluable experience. His career took a pivotal turn when he joined the New York Giants as an offensive coordinator in 1954. Under his guidance, the Giants transformed into a formidable team, showcasing the innovative strategies that would come to define his legacy. Lombardi's commitment to excellence and ability to inspire players set the stage for his groundbreaking tenure as head coach of the Green Bay Packers, where he would ultimately etch his name into the annals of football history.
I had felt that I had done what I could for the Giants, really, and I just felt that it was time for me to move, really, and I made it a point to try to move. I couldn't do anything with the Giants. I couldn't advance anymore. I had to be more or less accept what I was with the Giants, and that's what I was. And otherwise, I was status quo as far as the Giants were concerned. I wasn't going to be satisfied as an assistant coach, and I wanted to be a head coach of a professional football team, and Green Bay gave me the chance to be one.
When Vince Lombardi took the helm as head coach of the Green Bay Packers in 1959, the team was struggling to find its identity, caught in a cycle of mediocrity. Lombardi arrived with a vision that would redefine the Packers.
We were hoping change would come. I get a kick out of people saying, well, we expected something. No one expected Coach Lombardi.
He was completely ready. He had a fire in him unlike any other coach. It's a fact that he had those 20 years in the vineyards, preparing himself, thinking that he was better than people realized. All of those frustrations made the great Lombardi possible.
Lombardi left an indelible mark on the entire National Football League. His approach to coaching was revolutionary. He focused on discipline, hard work, and a deep sense of commitment. Lombardi believed that success stemmed from unwavering dedication and the relentless pursuit of excellence, a philosophy that quickly resonated with his players.
When he walked into the meeting and he looked us right in the eye, he said, "Gentlemen, we're going to relentlessly chase perfection, knowing full well we won't catch it because nothing is perfect, but we're going to relentlessly," and that's how he blurted it, "chase it, because in the process we will catch excellence." He said, "I'm not remotely interested in being just good." Holy mackerel, man, I was just up like this. I didn't even need a seat to sit on. I was like this, ready to go.
I was in a Marine boot camp for 2 years. I knew all about how tough it was, and these things were picnics compared to what he did. Come on the field, first he took a lap. We thought it was fine. Then the receivers would go out and run patterns. And he'd say, okay, now we start practice. And then we went to up-down.
And up-down is running in place. When he says front, you hit your belly, back, you hit your back. And you would do that to the point of exhaustion. Guys would lose consciousness on the field, vomiting. It wasn't uncommon to see a guy just keel over.
It was unbelievable. We all just looked at each other. We couldn't believe this guy's crazy.
Big thing is that he recognized the talent which was there.
We had a lot of talent. Nitschke, Jimmy Taylor, Ringo, myself, Forrest Gregg, Horning, Starr. There were 13 guys who were Pro Bowl, All-Pro, or Hall of Fame on that 58 team. And we were 110-1.
I believe we'll have a nucleus about which we can build a future.
Lombardi's influence extended beyond the X's and O's of the game. He instilled a culture of unity and resilience within the franchise. He fostered a brotherhood among players, emphasizing teamwork and the importance of each member's contribution. This camaraderie was pivotal in building the confidence necessary to achieve greatness. Lombardi's fiery speeches and motivational prowess ignited a passion in his players that propelled them to not only meet their potential, but exceed it. The pinnacle of Lombardi's impact came in Super Bowl I, where the Packers triumphed over the Kansas City Chiefs. This victory not only solidified Lombardi's legacy as a coaching icon, but also set the stage for the Packers' storied history in the league. His ability to inspire and drive his team to success transformed the Packers into a franchise synonymous with greatness, paving the way for a legacy that endures to this day. Lombardi's principles of leadership, discipline, and commitment continue to resonate, making him a timeless figure in the annals of sports history and a beacon of excellence for future generations. Vince Lombardi, a name synonymous with excellence in football, was not only a coaching genius, but also a profound leader whose philosophy and leadership style transformed the landscape of the NFL and left an indelible mark on the Green Bay Packers.
Here was a man that I just liked from the day we met him in that first meeting. But because I had not shown much in his eyes, I had to work my way up there. I throw a pass and it's tipped. The ball is intercepted. and he is chewing my you-know-what out. Just unbelievable. So I said, Coach, may I see you after practice? He said, sure. So I went down into his office and said, Coach, I can take your chewing. That doesn't bother me. And I said, yet you chew my you-know-what out in front of the entire team, and yet you want me to be leading that team. Please don't chew me out in front of them. If you want to chew me out for something, please do it here in your office. He never, ever chewed me out in practice again. I think it was a turning point.
At the heart of Lombardi's coaching philosophy was a relentless pursuit of perfection. He believed that success was not merely a product of talent, but a culmination of hard work, discipline, and unwavering commitment. His famous mantra, "Winning isn't everything, it's the only thing," encapsulated his belief that the pursuit of excellence should be at the forefront of every athlete's mind. Lombardi was known for his meticulous attention to detail and his insistence on discipline. He implemented a rigorous training regimen that emphasized fundamentals and execution, often drilling his players on the simplest of techniques until they became second nature.
You're always kind of saving a little bit to stay alive, you know. You're not giving him everything you got, but you're giving him quite a bit. And he wanted every ounce of ability you had. And he would not relent, and he wouldn't stop until you gave it to him. Go ahead now! Yeah. I jumped off sides one time in a scrimmage, and he got in my face, and he said, "Mister, the concentration period of a college student is 5 minutes, high school is 3 minutes, kindergarten is 30 seconds. You don't even have that, so where's that put you?" Put me checking my shoe shine. I go up in the locker room, sitting there, chin in my hand, elbow in my knee, looking at the floor, thinking, I'm never gonna play for this guy. And he came in the door, came across the room, slapped me on the back of the neck, messed up my hair. He said, "Son, one of these days you're gonna be the best guard in football." And he turned around and walked away. And that started my motor. With that comment, he allowed me to think about being a great football player. And from that point on, I worked my tail off. I gave him everything I had. It made a profound impact on my life.
This relentless focus on the basics allowed his teams to perform at peak levels under pressure, creating a sense of confidence that fueled their success on the field. Lombardi also understood the importance of adaptability, emphasizing that a successful coach must be willing to adjust strategies based on the strengths and weaknesses of both his team and the opponents. Lombardi, often referred to as the greatest coach in NFL history, leading the Green Bay Packers to 5 championship titles and 2 Super Bowl titles in just 9 years. His tough coaching style and no-nonsense attitude are legendary, but there is another side to Lombardi that many do not know: his deep love for football, family, and faith. In this segment, we see a different side of the man who built one of the most iconic teams in sports history. Lombardi was much more than a coach. He was a devoted husband, a dedicated father, and a deeply spiritual man. Love was at the core of everything Lombardi did. He had an unbreakable bond with his wife Marie, who was the only person who could talk back to him and get his attention.
My mother was the only person who could talk back to my father and get his attention.
We loved her. God, we loved her because we couldn't say anything to him. All he did is win all the time. She could.
One of the most common phrases that you could hear out of Vince Lombardi's mouth was, "Shut up, Marie." But like many marriages, he would say that in public, and then he would do exactly what she instructed him to do in private.
They had a love affair that lasted over 30 years, even through the trials and tribulations of Lombardi's demanding career. He once said, "God, family, and the Green Bay Packers, that's my holy trinity." But his love for the game of football was also undeniable. He lived and breathed it, looking at every play as an opportunity for perfection. Failure was not an option for Lombardi, and he instilled this mindset into his players. He pushed them to be their best and never settle for mediocrity. Lombardi's love was not limited to just his family and his team.
And who's the older boy? But Coach Lombardi. We looked at each other like, holy crap, this guy does everything. And to this day, I believe the priest kept looking at Lombardi like, am I doing it right?
His faith was an integral part of his life, and shaped his coaching style. He believed in a Christian love that could be incorporated into the team, creating a bond between players that went beyond just winning games.
Fields, I gave it a word. There has to be a great deal of love for each other.
He was the first coach that I ever heard refer to love in the locker room. He really believed that there was a Christian love that he could incorporate into the team, the love that binds his players together, the love that comes out of sacrifice.
Here we go, let's go. Come on, one for one, let's go now.
He's very tense the first part of the week, because that's when the hard work is. But as the week goes along, I don't see him Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night at all. It must be very hard to do what he has to do and do it alone.
Football coaching takes a great deal of time. It takes every minute of your time during the season. From the first part of June through January, there are no days off. You work every day and you work long hours. You work from 7 or 8 in the morning till 12 or 1 o'clock the next morning.
I think we can work 64 give and 65 give either way, right?
My mother used to say, you don't talk to my dad on Monday and Tuesday.
You never in your life seen anything more open than that.
Wednesday, you can kind of have a conversation with him. Thursday begins to lighten up.
That's the best one right there. That was the best one right there.
Friday, Saturdays, he figures he's done everything he can, and he's pretty civil.
Make sure everybody knows you go.
You know, you're at that peak emotionally, and then you need something to get off this 50-story ledge you've been on. It's his way of, you know, kind of coming down, and with people that he trusted. You know, you have a couple scotches and be having a good time, and then all of a sudden you could just see him ratcheting and thinking about the next week.
This is Vince Lombardi. I look at this, I look at my behavior, I say, has this become a game for madmen, and am I one of them?
That's exactly what I meant. It's a game for madmen, and I'm the biggest madman of them all.
Bob, how'd you get a man caught back there? Got a touchdown there. What happened at 68?
I don't know what the hell happened.
That was against Zeke. It should have been great.
Well, nobody blocked on the left side. Marvin, you missed that guy every time. Hey, supposed to be a hell of a defensive club. It didn't look like it to me. All the way down, about 70 yards.
Booming voice of his still scares the hell out of me.
Take the other way.
You have echo in the back of your mind.
Take it this way. What the hell's going on out here? For the love of Pete. What's going on out there?
This is a tough and it's a cruel business. We have to produce. We're only here because we win, period. And when we lose, we're gone. Therefore, we have to win. Therefore, you have to win. And we only want winners.
We only want winners. Why is this your credo? Is it the be-all and end-all of your life?
Well, that's a tough question, Howard. In my business, there is only one place, and that's to be a winner.
We need to get this ball in the end zone. I don't think that there was any doubt in anybody's mind that we had to, or otherwise it was over for us.
Bringing home 5 NFL titles in 7 years, unheard of, hasn't happened before or since.
He was a tough football coach. He demanded excellence at every position.
To sacrifice, to be prepared, to be committed, to run with discipline.
He was just an emotional guy. He was a great speaker.
I didn't know that much about Lombardi, but I did know a lot about the Green Bay Packers, and they were the world champions, and that's what I wanted to be part of.
If you do it my way, we will win. And if you don't want to do it my way, we'll get somebody here that does.
This is a tough and it's a cruel business. And when we lose, we're gone. Therefore, we have to win. Therefore, you have to win. And we only want winners.
There's one person in charge, and it's Vince Lombardi.
Vince, who was
general manager, coach, and everything else in Green Bay.
The whole point is he was in control of everything. Everything.
There were football coaches at the time that sold insurance and had real estate investments and other kinds of distractions. He was 100% football.
He made changes right away. He made changes administratively in his staff and in the building.
At a first-ever kickoff dinner in August, Lombardi introduces each player, all of whom wear suits and ties. Lombardi tells those on hand, "This is your team. It belongs to the city of Green Bay. Without you, we can do nothing."
He had us believe that in order to play well, you had to look well and act well and talk well, and that was all part of the game, being a professional in every phase of your life.
His character was highest, and he expected his players to have great character, too.
We played in County Stadium, and I picked it, I ran it back, and I scored. I slammed the ball to the ground, hit the ball, bounced into the stands. And I ran to the sideline. I'm just happy as hell. And Vince stopped me on the sideline and said, "Don't you ever do that again." I said, "What?" But I realized that was not his way.
He had certain standards, both physical and moral.
They had teen bars when you were 18 years old. And I went there because I wasn't 21. And so Lombardi says, he's having roll call. You know, George here, Czar here, Fleming. Oh, by the way, Fleming, stay out of the teen bars. The babysitters are seeing you. I said, well, I'm not old enough to go to the big places. So he says, stay home then.
We began to realize that the values we were accumulating that were not only good for our play on the field, but good for our lives.
I didn't want to embarrass the Green Bay Packers. I didn't want to embarrass the town of Green Bay or Vince Lombardi.
By striving for absolute perfection, you raise yourself notches above what you may have been content to be. And I think this is the law that he governs himself with.
We get down to about the 30-yard line. If we score, we win the game.
Only seconds go, no timeouts left, and Bart threw a little flare pass to Jim Taylor, who ran it down about to the 9-yard line. He was tackled by Chuck Bednarik of the Eagles. Bednarik wouldn't let him get up. Just kind of sat on him, let the clock tick down.
Victory goes to the Eagles, a team that has overcome insurmountable odds all season. The Philadelphia Eagles are truly a team of desire.
This is our first championship for a lot of guys, so it was a really difficult game to lose.
We all came in the locker room, and we all were disappointed.
Coach has been out doing interviews with the press, and he comes into the locker room about 10 minutes late, and he gets up on a trunk full of capes and stuff. "Bring it up! Everybody up! Bring it up!" We get up in front of the room, in the locker room.
He said, we got beat today. But he said, I can tell you right now, it won't ever happen again. He says this to us right after the ball game. It won't ever happen again. No one will ever beat us in a championship game again.
At that moment, I became a Lombardi fan.
Internally, it killed him. Every defeat was like a death for Vince Lombardi. And he'd just play over and over and over again in his mind every play that could have led to that defeat. That was part of his obsession.
The Packers clinch the Western Conference and secure the 1961 NFL championship game.
Cold weather, got the big city Giants coming here to play us, so big build up to that game.
The 61 championship, to this day, was the most eagerly anticipated game in the history of the Green Bay Packers. It was the first time they played host to the NFL championship game. And there's nothing bigger in the eyes of fans than a first.
The path to the championship had been anything but clear-cut. NFL players are called into service as the Berlin crisis rages on.
The whole team was having a good year. And we got called up in the middle of the season.
People that were in the National Guard, the Army Reserve, had to serve.
Paul Horning, Ray Nitschke, and myself.
I was in Fort Riley, Kansas, and they were letting all the football players in NFL, every one of us, got weekend passes to certain games we could go back and play.
Didn't always get passes to come home and play for games.
Here comes the championship game. Guy says, Paul, you can't go this weekend. General said, all leaves are out. Everybody stays home. I go, Coach, yes, Paul, I won't be able to make it for the championship game. What? What the hell are you talking about? He said, I got Kennedy's number in my pocket. I'm going to call him when we hang up. He said, America deserves to have the best game that they can have in the championship game. And the Packers need Paul Hornung to play to be a part of their team. I get the pass.
December 31st, 1961. Green Bay Packers versus the New York Giants. The Packers overwhelm the New York Giants 37-0 to win the franchise's 7th NFL championship. Its first in 17 seasons.
You had the dominant defense under Lombardi with Willie Davis and Wood, and then you had some zany, unconventional characters, but who were also great players, Ray, Nitschke, and Max and Hornung. So it was a combination of factors all underneath Vince.
Lombardi brought back not only the pride in the state of Wisconsin, but the pride around the country.
Green Bay being such a small town and being able to have a championship team there has captivated the nation.
The Packers finished the season with a nearly flawless 13-1 record. Many consider the 1962 Packers the greatest team in franchise history.
Team played 21 games that year, including the preseason, won 20 of them.
The season culminates in a bitterly fought defensive battle in a just as bitterly cold Yankee Stadium.
Wind chill was pretty low. It was bitter cold and just hard-nosed football. And of course, Jim Taylor was a guy that the Giants were laying for.
Robustelli and Cat Cabbage and other different players that tried to tear my head off. You're trying in return to bring the contact to them.
The conditions of that day dictated a ground game. New York was more of a passing team, so I'm sure the conditions hurt them.
The Associated Press announces Packers' Jim Taylor as the NFL's MVP.
I got the ball, and I'm dropping down, and that sideline is right there. I'm not stepping out. I'm not stepping out. I'm taking on that New York Giant player.
The Packers prevail 16-7 over the New York Giants. A title rematch to win their second straight NFL championship under Vince Lombardi. (1965) NFL championship game. Green Bay sees 5 inches of wet, heavy snow. This snarls pregame traffic and the Cleveland Browns.
They got delayed because of the weather, and they never got here until a little bit an hour before the game, so already they didn't get off on the right foot.
They must scramble to make kickoff.
Cleveland had the great runner Jimmy Brown. When we would play the Browns, they would always gear themselves to stop Jim Brown.
The sleet and the snow and the muck here at Lambeau Field, and that was to the advantage of Hornung and Taylor, who were certainly not speed merchants, and to the disadvantage of Jim Brown, who was much faster.
With their distinctive, sure-footed styles, Packers' 30-year-old running backs Paul Hornung and Jim Taylor sloshed through a quagmire for a combined 201 yards rushing.
That was Lombardi football. He just pounded the ball against the Browns that day.
The Packers defeat the Browns 23-12 and win the 1965 NFL championship. Hornung and Taylor, nicknamed Thunder and Lightning, had done it again.
It was just a couple of names that a couple of reporters thought up.
Taylor and Hornung were a good tandem.
I never paid any attention to it, and I know Jimmy didn't either. He didn't care one way or the other.
Seconds remain in the championship game. The Dallas Cowboys face a 4th and goal at the Green Bay 2-yard line.
Dallas had the momentum. It was not looking good for us, and we had to stop them.
If I go and play it the way that Lombardi drew this play up, I'm going to stop the play. He's going to pull up, he's going to throw the pass again.
Dave Robinson charges Cowboy quarterback Don Meredith.
You can see the guard, he sees me, and he wheels around and tries to come back to get me, but it's too late.
Meredith takes the ball, rolls out to the right. He's going to be nailed. A pass away, and it's intercepted in the end zone.
On that last play, Dave Robinson was able to get in and get a hold of Meredith's arm.
And I grabbed him, and he had his arm out like this. I hit him from the left side, and I couldn't get his right arm. I'm trying to pull it down.
Meredith just flipped the ball because he's going down. And of course, Tom Brown standing there able to intercept and save the day for us.
The play preserves a 34-27 victory and the 1966 NFL championship. This time, the Packers have another game to play.
The National Football League was the league, and they'd worked hard to establish their league. The newfangled AFL was a challenge to them. The AFL had signed a number of players off the NFL rosters, and it put the pinch on a lot of the NFL owners.
Competition between the AFL teams and the NFL teams had gotten to the point where we weren't sure that all the teams would survive.
Following 6 years of hostile relations, the upstart American Football League and the nearly 50-year-old National Football League agreed to a merger.
They want recognition. They want parity with the NFL. They win this game. Boy, that's a big feather in their hat. A lot of recognition. We're just as good as you are.
Coach Lombardi was tense.
Talk about tight as the nuts on a new bridge. He was really not himself. People were asking him questions about the Kansas City Chiefs and their credentialing and their personnel. Lombardi had the edge because he had honed his team with mental toughness.
We have to beat this team to solidify what the NFL stands for.
The stuff of legends.
Wasn't set to play, wasn't ready to play, all of a sudden got called on.
Boy, Dollar gets hurt on like the first series, hurts his shoulder out for the game.
Lombardi yells about Max, and Max, he hadn't played all year, and he can't find his helmet. And my God, someone gave him the wrong helmet. Anyway, he put it on. Max McGee had the game of his life.
I'm thinking, oh my God, this man's been out all night on the eve of the biggest game in our career.
He catches 7 passes for 138 yards and 2 touchdowns from game MVP Bart Starr.
At halftime, we were ahead 14-10.
The first Super Bowl halftime show initiates today's tradition of spectacle. It features 2 men flying above the field propelled by rocket belts. While the show went smoothly, the return to the game did not.
They sent Pat Summerall down because Pat had played for Vince in New York. Said, you need to go down and tell Vince that you need to kick off again because NBC was a commercial. So he says, you got to be crazy. I'm not going to do that. They said, get somebody else. He said, well, you played for him. So he goes over and Lombardi says, you got to be kidding me. I'll file suit against the NFL for this. So he agreed, not very happily about it, but he did agree.
Green Bay dominates the second half. Safety Willie Wood's 50-yard interception return triggers the team's 21-point surge. The Packers make history by winning Super Bowl I, rolling to a 35-10 victory over the Kansas City Chiefs. Pressed to compare the Chiefs with teams in the NFL, at a post-game press conference, Coach Lombardi blurts out the comment many of his NFL brethren want to hear. Kansas City has a real top team, but I don't think it compares with the top teams in the NFL. That's what you wanted me to say. Now I've said it. The Packers win the Central Division with a 9-4-1 record. However, they are perceived as tired and aging.
Being an old man inferred that you were not capable of doing the job, that you had passed your prime, that you were no longer a great football player, you were a has-been.
Underdogs for the first time in a home playoff game under Lombardi. A rematch, Packers versus the Los Angeles Rams in the NFL Western Conference Championship game.
The playoff game at County Stadium against the Rams. I remember Travis Williams having a huge game.
Travis Williams was our secret weapon in that game. He had all kinds of yards. They would try to close on him, and he could run in between them. He was just so fast.
The Packers faced the same adversary, on the last day of 1967 as they did on the first. They beat the Dallas Cowboys on January 1st to earn their place in Super Bowl I. They must now face them again.
Lombardi was the guy that kept everything in check.
He would inspect the field, and then he had his anti-freeze situation there where he installed a whole bunch of wires under the stadium floor, the turf, to keep the field soft.
He loved gadgets. He just absolutely loved things that he felt gave him a competitive advantage. This system would keep the soil from freezing and therefore make it playable.
And so the night before the game, they turned it on.
That night, the weather changed. The weatherman made a terrible forecast.
December 31st, 1967.
Don Meredith said they had a wake-up call at the hotel, howdy doody, Packer. He said, what? He said, howdy doody, it's 7 o'clock in the morning and 16 below. And Meredith said, 16 below what?
Your breath and your breathing was just absolutely like a cake of ice.
Yesterday, Saturday, before that Sunday game, was a beautiful day in Green Bay. It was maybe 20, 30 degrees, but hot, but sunny and beautiful. We were running around like a bunch of colts out in the field.
Press box on the west side of Lambeau didn't have much heat in it at all, and I thought, wouldn't this be lovely? And the field was another story.
When they got to Lambeau Field, some of the Packer assistant coaches were down there.
The grass was nice and soft and warm until they took the tarp off. And then it hit 16 below weather and it quick froze.
Just see the white creeping across the field, the frozen tundra.
And someone said, you better go up and tell your boss the system's not working. And none of the assistant coaches would do it. They got Chuck Lane.
I'm like the young brother. He gave him all the crappy jobs. So I go into Lombardi and said, Coach, I guess we got a problem. What's that? I said, your field is frozen. He said, you're kidding me, it can't be. And I said, oh yeah, it is, unfortunately. I thought you needed to know. Well, he just flew off the handle at that one.
People start filing into the locker room, and there's a lot of grumbling going on.
Yeah, I think it's great. You like it? No.
Coach heard that too. He said, we're playing this game. So get out there, get warmed up, and let's go. Getting warmed up was impossible.
Vince would let guys wear gloves, and Dave Robinson said, I'm going to wear a brown glove, and he won't know the difference. And my God, he did.
By the time the game started, it was an ice rink. All the mud, too, had coagulated on the field, froze to the field. It was almost as if you had a stucco wall and you laid it down and then you had to play on that.
The upper level was where the cameras were, so there couldn't be glass in front of the cameras. So for the entire game, we were literally outside.
Every time a guy opened that damn door, it was like the Arctic Circle. Coffee froze on the ledge. Guys wiping the windows with keeps the breath so you could see out the window. It was terrible conditions.
The first play of the game was almost a disaster. Donnie Anderson fumbled. You know, it was like trying to hold an ice cube. The referee blew the whistle. He tried to pull the whistle, which was a metal whistle. It stuck to his lip, and he had to rip it out of his mouth. It cracked his lip, and the blood froze. And from that moment on, there was never another whistle in the ice bowl. We played the entire ice bowl, listening to the commands of the referees saying, stop.
Packers scored early.
Terrible running conditions.
Field was getting worse and worse and worse. And the weather was really the number one thing that the Packers were fighting at that time, as were the Cowboys.
The Cowboys take a lead late in the game. They're winning this damn game at Green Bay, of all places.
Final drive in the Ice Bowl, we're down 3. We get the ball on the 35-yard line, 4.5 minutes to go. In the previous 31 plays, we'd gained a -9 yards. 31 plays, the whole second half, maybe some more, we gained -9 yards.
We hadn't made a first down in the whole second half.
Watch the momentum change. Green Bay just came back and started to dominate play.
In that huddle, I looked in my eyes of my teammates. I saw confidence. I saw poise and professionalism. I didn't see any fear, anxiety.
I talked to Bart later, and I said, what made you think you could take that team down the field? What were you thinking about? He said, I came in the huddle, and I was going to say something, and I looked in your eyes, and I looked in Forrest's eyes, I looked in Ski's eyes, looked in Gilly's eyes. I said, I don't need to say anything.
And then Bart stepped in and said, let's get this done.
And everybody got an injection of power, of energy.
The greatest drive I've ever seen in football was that drive, 68 yards.
Donnie caught a little pass to begin the drive. I got a 7-yard run off right tackle for first down.
Donnie Anderson was sensational. Chuck Mercine played his heart out.
I told Bart Starr that I was open in the left flat. He hit me for a 19-yard catch. I went out of bounds, stopped the clock. All of a sudden, I've got half the yardage in the drive.
We need to get this ball in the end zone. I don't think that there was any doubt in anybody's mind that we had to, or otherwise it was over for us.
Bart says to Ski in the huddle, he says, Ski, can you block Andre on the give play? And Ski says, run it on 2. And we gained 11 yards down to the 1-yard line.
They call a couple of dive plays to our halfback, to Donnie Anderson, number 44. Both times, Donnie slipped.
So at the final timeout with 16 seconds to go, Bart went to the sidelines.
I said, Coach, I'm up underneath the center. I can lunge my way into the end zone. All he said was, then run it, and let's get the hell out of here.
It wasn't a sneak. He didn't call a sneak. He called a handoff.
The play was Brown right 31 wedge, which Chuck Mercine was supposed to get the ball.
I was excited because here I was going to get a chance to win the game.
An unbearable minus 13 degrees with a 36 below, 0 wind chill. Bart Starr finishes a 12-play, 68-yard drive with a 1-yard touchdown quarterback sneak. The winning touchdown with 13 seconds remaining.
He kept the ball.
He didn't tell me, he didn't tell anybody he was going to keep the ball.
I turned around and I saw Bart tumble into the end zone, and it was across the line, right? And whew, we got it.
My next fear was don't push him into the end zone because I couldn't stop. And if I pushed him or assisted him into the end zone, it would have been a penalty. So that's why I threw my arms up in the air, trying to say to the referee, I'm not assisting him as I bumped him.
The Packers beat the Cowboys 21-17 in what is now famously remembered as the Ice Bowl.
Coach Lombardi was meeting with the team, and he really got after that team that day. He laid it out.
He had a horrible anger, temper. He could be charming.
I'm going to use the 4-pass for this thing.
He had all these facets that were all combined into what the real man was, and it was everything.
I was sitting in this room adjacent to that at a little table there having lunch. He came in, and he didn't see me. He put his head down on the desk and cried. He was pushing that team to Super Bowl II. He wanted it for them.
The Packers beat the Oakland Raiders 33-14 in Super Bowl II at the Orange Bowl in Miami.
That game, the second Super Bowl, is almost a footnote compared to what the Ice Bowl is in history.
I know I had this feeling right from the first series of plays that we were on the field, that we were out there ready to play the game.
Coach had mentioned this might be our last time together. That would be the appropriate way for him to leave the game on the shoulders of his men. And he looks down and he says, let's head for the locker room, boys. It's a moment I'll cherish as long as I live.
I love my father very dearly, but I don't think about my father every day, but I think about Coach Lombardi every day.
Lombardi hated prejudice. I mean, you say a racist word in his training camp, you were on the next bus.
Lionel gave me an engagement ring.
but I couldn't wear it, and I had to hide it, and I couldn't tell anybody that I was engaged to him. At that point in time, it wasn't really legal for black and whites to marry. There was a player that had married interracially a couple years before Lionel and I were thinking about it. And he'd been blackballed from all of football. So Lionel wanted to know what Lombardi's reaction would be.
Vince called him in because he'd gotten complaints about Lionel importing this white girl to Green Bay. And then Lionel told him, he said that he wanted to marry her, but he's afraid of being blackballed.
And Lombardi told him, I don't care who you marry, as long as you play good football, you keep your nose clean. Lionel called me and said, wow, I walked out of there just like shaking my head thinking, oh my gosh. He said, yeah, I still have a job so we can get married.
When he came back to me from Vince, he came right to me and told me, he said, Vince told me Vicky and I can get married. He was happy as a lot.
He would always say, gentlemen, what I'm trying to tell you now is going to help you once you get out of the game, because once you start working in the world, you're going to have the same ingredients to make it. Self-pride, pride in performance, sacrifice, self-respect, respect for others, hard work. I love my father very dearly, but I don't think about my father every day, but I think about Coach Lombardi every day.
He would come out right past me, and he would slap me on my back, my shoulder, Fleming, and keep walking. And I would say, he touched me. He touched me. That was like the man touching you from the sky.
You know, we take quite a bit, but being grown men, we realize that's the only way he can get the best out of us. And as long as he does the same with Paul Hornung and Bart Starr, he sure is welcome to do it with me.
You knew what your body can do, and you knew what your mind would do, and it wouldn't give up in this critical instance.
He starts preaching. He starts saying, there'll be a game this year in the fourth quarter when you will be, because of your superior conditioning, you will be the champions.
He's very fiery in everything that he does, and I have been one player who especially have tried to stay out of that realm of where usually it irritates him most.
He just played us like a maestro.
Every play you're graded. In a grading system, if a guy blocks you and you get out of the block and you make the tackle for no gain, that's a 0. You did what you're supposed to do. Now, if he blocks you and you don't get out of the block, you stay blocked, that's a -2. He dogged people so much, when he gave you a compliment, even if it's just a little small one, you just took it and said, hey, he likes me. My dad always said, never let a white man pat your head. But Vince Lombardi, when he needed something good, he walk up behind you, he hit your back here like this, behind your head like here. And I love it, man. I said, hey. He didn't pat you on the head, he hit you right in the back of the neck. It's kind of like his seal of approval.
Just to have the chance to play for him. That was the highlight of my whole career. I'm glad I had that experience. If I'd have had it longer, it would have been cheating because it was easy.
He comes over the house and greeted him outside with a nice big hug and handshake, and we come inside to take him on a cook's tour of the home, and my wife said, Coach, none of this would have been possible without you. He gets up, tears are coming from his eyes. He goes across the room, gives my wife a great big hug, turns around, hugs me, and goes out the front door.
I was in the office looking at films, and he was coming down the hallway. And he looked terrible. And I said, Coach, are you okay? And he said, no, Sam. He said, I really feel sick. And I said, well, why don't you go see the team doctor? And he did.
Washington Redskins coach Vince Lombardi had a 2-foot section of his colon removed today after surgeons discovered a tumor during an exploratory operation.
I remember getting a call, follow-up, that the surgery wasn't successful and that he was terminal.
Every Green Bay Packer went
to say goodbye to him. And the Washington Redskins, the Giants. And once it all came out that the coach was going to die, those players flocked in there like, it was like, I have to say goodbye.
I go in and he said, you know, I've been lying here thinking about this. American Football Conference runs a lot of 34 defense instead of the 4-3 defense in the NFC. And I'm going, here's a man that, you know, it's just, I don't know how long he has to live. And he's sitting there thinking about ways to beat defenses.
It was 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening when I went into his room. He opened his eyes and looked at me, and I went over and took his hand and told him how much I appreciated our time together and that he'd had a great impact on my life. And I loved him for that.
I took the train down, and he was actually alone. He knew who I was, and he kind of laughed, and I squeezed his arm. And we talked about the weather or anything. What do you say? And I remember grabbing him by the arm, and as I was leaving, he looked at me and he said, Frank, it really hurts.
Second year, Ken Bowman, our starting center, got hurt, so I started every game, and we went to Super Bowl I. And at the time, I saw myself as a starter, and I couldn't believe that Coach Lombardi, he would put me on the expansion list, but he did. He got rid of me. Broke my heart. I blamed him. I had shot my mouth off publicly, which was just really unforgivable, stupid, arrogant. A couple of years later, he was on his deathbed, and Bob Long, a great teammate, called me and he said, you and I are going to go see Vince today. I said, no, you and I are not going to go do that, because he wouldn't let me in the room. I was really scared of Marie, his wife. I just didn't want to see him because I had been so unthoughtful. We got off that elevator, and Marie was standing there with Sonny Jurgensen. I'll never forget it. She greeted me like her long-lost son. Let's go see Vin. He wants to see you. I couldn't imagine that. So we walked in, and the great man was there. His body was wasted, but his eyes were the same. And shaking like a leaf, she kind of nudged me over there. His right arm was full of IVs, so I took his left hand and tried my best to choke out, I'm sorry. I said a lot of things, but I really came here today to tell you that you've meant a lot to my life. He never wavered. He grasped me, squeezed my hand. The eyes never changed. And he said, well, you can mean a lot to my life if you'll pray for me. Whew. I said I would, and I had to leave. So what did the great man do to the terrified kid? Changed my life. People who forgive you when you least deserve it make you respond. So once again, he forced me to respond. At his moment of truth, he passed the ultimate test, which is, in the Christian faith, to forgive everybody, especially the ones who least deserve it. And that was Bill Curry that day. So I have been forced to respond differently to just about everybody ever since then.
Mr. Vincent Lombardi, coach and executive vice president of the Washington Redskins, died at 7:12 a.m. today at Georgetown University Hospital.
I usually wake up in the morning listening to Paul Harvey, and I opened up my eyes, it was raining, and I heard still can't talk about this.
It is a gray day in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
I heard Paul Harvey on the radio saying that the heavens were weeping in Green Bay because Vince Lombardi had passed away.
They said the town ran on Lombardi time, 15 minutes ahead of everywhere else. And elsewhere, in an era in which many sought to deify the common man, some of us continued to thrill to the accomplishments of the uncommon ones, Rockne, Leahy, Bud Wilkinson, Bear Bryant, and the incomparable Vince Lombardi. Vince Lombardi and his uncompromising determination to be the best could not alone inspire us all. Let that be his epitaph.
It was the first time I really shed a tear at a white funeral, see? And it didn't mean it derogatorily. I was just trying to say that this guy, even though he was white, he was like a father to me.
The saddest part of his death was his players. You could see the sadness inside of them. He was amazing. He really was amazing.
Somebody said he made football players out of some men, and he made men out of some football players. I think he's much more proud of the fact that he made some men out of football players.
People don't know Coach Lombardi, and they don't know who he is. They don't know anything about him. We know him, we understand him, and we love him. This is one beautiful man.
To all of these men, I want to say that football is not just a game, but a way of life. It's a game of courage.
Believe in each other, trust each other, pray for each other.
It's a game of sacrifice.
What would you sacrifice to get the win?
It's a game of self-denial.
Pray for your brother, man. Yes, sir. Pray for your brother tonight.
It's a game of dedication.
I need each and every one of you. Give me everything you got today.
And it's a game of love.
I love each and most of you guys.
It's a game of stamina. And it's a game of coordinated efficiency. Each man must contribute to the spirit of the team.
Hey, everybody just do your job. Everybody just do your job right here. Complimentary football.
And it's this spirit, this cohesive force, which binds 11 hardened and talented men into an irresistible force. It's a game where the only satisfaction they receive is to be a part of the successful whole. It's a game which teaches us how to laugh, yet not forget how to weep. Each Sunday afternoon, after the battle, one group savors victory,
victory!
And the other lives with the bitterness of defeat. To the winner, there is 100% laughter, there is 100% fun, there is 100% elation. To the loser, no reason really is adequate enough for having lost. The only thing left is determination and resolution.
I will be back here. I will be back here.
It's a game which teaches us to be proud in defeat, yet humble and gentle in victory.
Hey, you're a legend, man. Congrats, man. You're amazing, man.
Yeah, let's keep in touch.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
Each week, there's a new encounter, and each year, there's a new challenge. Work and sacrifice and perseverance and competitive drive and selflessness is the price that each and every one must pay to achieve the goals that are worthwhile.
I love it. It's adversity. Come on.
Each man must make a personal commitment to excellence and to victory.
Hey, let's go right here. Let's go.
even though ultimate victory cannot be reached.
That's a great thing about football. Every series you get another opportunity to be great.
Yet it still must be pursued with all of one's might and all of one's effort.
Either you won't be great or you won't be happy.
The spirit, the will to win, the will to excel, these are the things that endure.
Brazilian, let's go. All night. Brazilian, let's get it. Let's go.
The quality of life is a full measure of a man's personal commitment to this excellence and to this victory, not only in football, but in every endeavor.
Yes, sir! Love you, mama. Yeah. Love you, wife. Yeah. Love you, grandma. Yeah. Love all y'all. Yeah.
This is what I believe football is all about. This is why it's a great game.
Great game for football.
Yeah, always.
Every day.